Haunted Cabaret, the home of all things horror, on Rhode Island FreeRadio.org, with your host, George Garner. The Haunted Cabaret starts now.
All right, that was All Guts, No Glory from Exhumed. What more can you say about that band? I mean, take any track at random, and it's just as maniacal as that was. You know, a rare instrumental. I'm George Garner. This is the Haunted Cabaret. And we have quite a bit going on this week's show. Top of this hour, I'm going to address a very relevant and current social issue, which I hope you'll all pay strict attention to because it's important. With me also, Seth Kahane, music impresario, music expert, which is basically the main. Now he's going to talk about his website. He's going to talk about, his business. But the main reason Seth is here is because he's a music fanatic, and he's one of the few people I know who can talk about bands for as long as I can without getting winded and getting out of breath. So, Seth, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
All right, before we get started on the music, though, I just want to, something on my mind lately, which this whole idea of gender issues, gender identification. I know on the college campuses, I'm not sure how many categories now that you can apply to. You used to be male or female. You used to be black. You used to be black or white. You used to be gay or straight, or both. I always thought it would be a great thing to be both because then you have twice the opportunity to get laid. That's as far as I go as far as my sensitivity to gender issues, at least up until recently, because it has been pounded into all our heads that no longer is a man just a man, no longer is a woman just a woman, but apparently, and I'll go part of the way. I mean, transsexual, yes, okay, that's very real. But we've gotten to the point where I think we have maybe dozens of them on at least one college, and I forget the name of the college, probably mercifully, because I just want to abuse them verbally for the next 15 minutes for the idiocy of it. But there's about 50 categories that you can declare yourself, and they're even using different pronouns now, not he, she, Mr., Ms., things like that, but they actually have all these weird combinations of letters to designate. I don't know, last time I saw some of these combinations of letters was in science fiction novels, like maybe extraterrestrial races, which brings me to the issue that I want to address, the important issue that I want to address on this week's show here at the top of the hour, which is gender identification among werewolves. Now, let's think about this for a minute. There's all this concern about human beings, but we're all within the human race. I mean, how important is it if you like men or women, whatever your orientation, how important is it if you have a set of tits or a dick or both? I mean, compared to the stress, compared to the existential issues and the suffering of werewolves. Now, you're not just going between two human, male, female genders. You're going between two species. Now, how much more difficult must this be? And when was the last time we heard any of these intellectual know-it-alls at these colleges address the plight of werewolves? And by the way, I'm not even going into other were beings, like
vampires.
Well, no. So I really don't consider them in the same category, because a vampire is just a dead corpse animated by a demon.
But it turns into a bat.
So what you're saying is, would the demon suffer existential issues trying to decide whether he wants to be listed on Hell's roster as, with his earthly form, classified as a bat or a human?
Exactly.
That's an angle of vampires I hadn't thought of. I'm glad you're here. See, I had you here only for the music, but I'm glad you brought that up. We'll have to discuss that.
Yeah.
More to the point, I'm going to have to consult some experts on the subject and see what they have to say. But I think werewolves are enough, to have on our plate right at the moment.
I'll go with that.
I mean, were beings. I shouldn't even see. I'm getting off on the wrong track right away. It's not even werewolves anymore. It's were beings, because we have plenty of people who not only change into wolves, they change into cats. If you remember the movie, the Cat People. Cat People. And the remake, but the original was always the best in showing the plague of that particular curse, the emotional turmoil it puts you through, trying to decide if you want to fall in love with a human male or basically remain a Black Panther and run around eviscerating the human males.
Well, I mean, you can go all the way back to mythology, right? Zeus turns into an animal to have sex with somebody.
And I can't even imagine the issues a sensitive, superior being like Zeus must have gone through deciding whether he wants to be a swan, a bull, a human.
And then you have a minotaur, right? And then you have that half man, half horse, whatever they call it.
Right, but at least this is voluntary on the part of Zeus.
Yes, he's voluntary.
See, werewolves, it chokes me up just thinking about the dilemmas that these kids must go through. It's not voluntary if you're walking through the woods, to grandma's house or wherever you're going, and you get set upon by a wolf and bitten. Now, you're not a voluntary werewolf. Now, you're struggling with the usual affairs of being a human being, and all of a sudden you start growing hair every place, on your body besides your head and your balls where it belongs.
Back your ass, too.
And, yeah, and you're running around on all fours. And you develop a taste for human flesh. And if you watch the Jack Nicholson version of it, you develop a taste for, what was her shit name, Michelle Pfeiffer, which is not a bad taste to be having.
But if you get that lucky.
Yeah, but most werewolves don't, and this is my point. Most werewolves are deeply conflicted. I mean, do they even? First of all, there's not even a place on the college application for them.
So let me ask you.
I mean, where does it say human wolf?
Let me ask you on that whole thing now. You're talking transgender and the werewolf, right?
Yeah,
so what Michael Jackson portrays in Thriller kind of puts you in that. I want you to go down that road and say
Michael Jackson.
The transgender thing going on just as when he was.
Michael Jackson is a category of his own.
But he brings in the whole werewolf piece there, doesn't he?
Well, I don't even think he has to bring in werewolves. I think
that's just another great aspect of that.
Yeah, I think Michael Jackson is probably his own category. We are not going to see his like listed again.
In any category or gender.
No, he is his own. I mean, about the time he started resembling an ancient Egyptian mummy and his nose fell off,
yes.
Yeah, by the end there, yes, he resembled an Egyptian mummy in white grease paint is basically what he did. Yeah, even I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going anywhere near Michael Jackson.
But he was trying to bring that whole werewolf thing to the front back in the day.
He was, but I wish he had maybe clarified himself first. I mean, really? I mean, maybe before he married Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's daughter, and messed up her brain for life.
You're not thinking that caused him to be the pedophile that they all think he is?
Well, I don't think, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I mean, I don't think he was a pedophile. I think this was a guy who's misunderstood. It's just that he was so bizarre in every other way that people think he just had to be a pedophile. You know, if you invite little kids into your bed and you have little monkeys running around and, you know, when you're playing with the kids and the monkeys and, you know, you must be a pedophile. No, that's assuming you're looking through this with the lens of regular, I don't know. I was going to say sane, but sane doesn't mean much on this show.
Point, right? Because they have the whole transgender with the Bruce Jenner thing. Is he male or female? Whatever. You
right. If Michael Jackson,
so if kind of the forerunner.
Yeah. If Michael Jackson is his own gender.
Okay.
If he's not male or female, right? Then he's not a child molester because, you know, I mean, he's not a grown man in bed with little kids.
Right, he wasn't pulling Cosby.
He's a Michael Jackson. He's a Michael Jackson, singular, in bed with little kids. Yeah. We don't even know. Did this man have a penis by the time he died? We don't even know.
No, we don't.
He didn't have a nose. That fell
It
off.
may have met the same fate as his nose.
It may have.
While I was wandering around this weekend, I stumbled across the Michael Jackson slot machine. Yes, that is now a thing.
Well, when you hit the jackpot on the Michael Jackson slot machine, you know, does pieces fall off? Yeah, it would have been great if we still had the old, you know, fashioned slot machines where the coins drop into the tray. You know, if pieces could fall off, a little plastic Michael Jackson in the machine down into the tray with cash values on them. But no, Michael Jackson. We have, you know. We're getting far off. See, we're still showing no respect to the werewolves.
We kind of thought they brought it to highlight by Michael Jackson in his Thriller video.
Yes, but then we went off on Michael Jackson, who, like I said, I look at him as a singularity. That's what Michael Jackson is. Although I'll tell you, there are a few people in the celebrity universe that are becoming almost as cyborg as him.
I wouldn't argue that, especially like the woman on Beverly Hills or a woman of whatever show. Where they keep putting more and more on them.
Yeah. Then, of course, if you watch South Park, their favorite object of ridicule is was it Barbara Streisand, who is now pretty much a Mecha Godzilla because with all the replacements that have taken place on her.
Cher's going to look like Cher.
Oh, Cher! My goodness, Cher. Yeah, Cher. If there's anybody close to the Michael Jackson ideal, if we can call it that, it might be Cher. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just throwing that out there, you know, because if you want to look at transgender too, you want to go a little bit to the 80s rock bands.
Right, but like I say, but my concern here is that nobody's addressed is trans species. Trans species. Yeah, that's the word for the day here on the Haunted Cabaret. You know, spare a thought for your trans species fellow creatures walking this earth. In the meantime, while you're sparing that thought, let's go back to the music for a second before we start discussing the music. Let's go with little Robin Hitchcock, Madonna of the Wasps, here on the Haunted Cabaret on Rhode Island Free Radio.
Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love?